Hi everyone. Good afternoon for those in LA or in the US. My name is Gregorius Marco, but you can just call me Marco. So, on this talk, I'm going to share about my experience on migrating and running Elasticsearch on Kubernetes. So, let's start with who am I, first of all. So, I'm actually an Indonesian, but based in Singapore right now. So, it's like early morning here, 7:10 a.m. And currently, I'm working as a senior backend engineer at Bybit. So it's a cryptocurrency trading platform. And if you do any of derivative crypto trading, then you may have heard of it. But otherwise, previously, I was working as a senior DevOps slash backend engineer at 99.co. So 99.co is a Singapore-based startup, and it is also the largest property portal currently in Singapore and um, Indonesia. So this is where I did the migration to the Elastic migration of Elasticsearch on Kubernetes during my last days at 99.co. So let me just introduce a little bit more about 99.co itself. And okay, so so this is the homepage of the 99.co's website. So it is like the Zillow in the US, where you have property buyers and renters can search for their homes. So when you do a search, you can actually have a feature to search uh, by nearest MRT stations, or in this case like subway stations. So you can just choose multiple MRT stations, or you can search by district, area, town, school, and or maybe like travel time from a certain location. Then after you selected your filters, this is how the search result page looks like. And so, for example, if you search for listings around Orchard area, so this is like the downtown area in Singapore. So you can see on the left is the list of the listings, and then where is it located in the map as well on the right. So it's pretty intuitive, very user friendly, and for 99.co, this is the most critical page in the entire website. So where most of the users will land here. So this feature is the bread and butter of 99.co. And in order to support this, we need to have a search service. So we are running on microservices. And the search service itself is supported by Elasticsearch. So we need to have a very reliable and stable infrastructure to run our Elasticsearch. Okay, so let me briefly introduce about the search service itself, the application side. So on the right, on the right hand side, you can see that there is two kinds of processes, the search service web and the search service indexer. So these two containers are running in Google in Kubernetes engine. And so what the web does, it actually provides API for to query to Elasticsearch so that the users can search for their respective listings. And during its peak hour, it can serve up to 300 QPS, be it from the users or from other microservices. And the indexer itself is actually main purpose is to index documents to the Elasticsearch. So now, if you notice that the search service is running in Kubernetes, but the Elasticsearch itself previously was running only in Docker containers in separate virtual machines in Google Compute Engine. So, so then what is the issue with this kind of architecture? So there are some issues, but the one that I want to highlight is performing a manual kind of rolling upgrade was actually a risky operation. So what is rolling upgrade? So rolling upgrade is, for example, when you have your Elasticsearch cluster and you want to, let's say, increase the machines that host the ES CPU or RAM. So if you want to increase those CPU or RAM, you have to perform a rolling upgrade in order to minimize the downtime of your Elasticsearch cluster. So, or if you want to do a upgrade of the ES version, is another example of rolling upgrade. So, in theory, what the big steps what you need to do is to shut down your Elasticsearch node, which is the container. Then you have to shut down the machine itself that hosts the ES. Then you do such changes like increasing the CPU. Then you have to start it back up and wait for the cluster, for the node to rejoin the cluster, and everything is normal first. So let me share you a real story from me. So this is my personal experience when performing a rolling upgrade, and uh, there was a major fuck up before. So I had to, at that point of time, I had to increase our ES machine CPU. So I decided to do it at 3 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, because if anything bad were to happen, at least the impact is not that high, because there are less users that would search for homes at like search for listings at like 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So back then we had three Elasticsearch nodes on three different VMs, right? So I started with shutting down the container at machine A, and then what I should have done is went to the GCP console and shut down the machine for for machine A. But what ended up happening was, for some reason, I shut down machine B. So now we only have one ES node running, and uh, this is a very bad situation that I was at. I got a lot of Slack alerts coming in about the availability of the search service itself. Then, to my demise, when I checked the Elasticsearch cluster health, it actually turned red where it should be yellow. And so I had a little panic attack, and the search result page was basically down. And so yeah, I had to recover everything first. So start up all the nodes first, and then make sure everything is properly running back then. And yeah, so what seemingly like a very simple operation just to increase machine CPU, it becomes a literal nightmare for me at 3 a.m. So the outage went for like 30 or so minutes, and yeah, then I had to do again the rolling upgrade properly after that, and being extra cautious. Okay, so so this is where like the move to Kubernetes motivated us. So, but before we jump into how we move to Kubernetes, let me just outline how you can do a manual rolling upgrade previously. So this is actually documented steps by Elastic themselves. So first of all, you just SSH inside the ES machines. Then, okay, the next step here, you should curl these two endpoints to your ES cluster in order to disable like shard allocations and perform sync flush. And then you just shut down the ES container, shut down the machine, perform the necessary upgrade, then start up the ES machine back, start up the ES container back, and then you call this endpoint on number 8 to roll back the settings that you did on the step 2 to re-enable the shard allocation. Then you have to monitor if is your cluster health becoming green again before you repeat for all the other machines. And of course, most important one is you hope that there's no disaster, and which obviously I had one major disaster. So motivated by this, this is where we started planning on the move to Kubernetes. So just like moving our microservices before from just containerized application to Kubernetes, we are motivated by these few reasons. First, it will ensure the SLA because the search feature is a very important feature in our website. And then it also brings less stress for the engineering team to manage the ES cluster theoretically. And it also comes with like automatic monitoring from the Kubernetes and then dynamic storage provisioning as well. So just the good stuffs by running in Kubernetes. All right, so introducing ECK, right? So ECK is short for Elastic Cloud on Kubernetes. So it is basically it's a Kubernetes operator. Okay, it's operator. It is built upon operator pattern and it is written by the Elastic company themselves natively. So what it can do out of the box is the following functionality. So you can do things like managing and monitoring multiple clusters, upgrading to new stacks, switch new versions with ease, scaling your cluster capacity, and then changing your cluster configuration, dynamically scaling local storage and scheduling backups. So all this just comes out of the box um, from ECK. So as I mentioned, it is this ECK is using operator pattern. So um, I just would like to deep dive a little bit about what is operator pattern and how is it being used in this case. So let me introduce a little bit about operator pattern and CRD. So operator pattern is actually a pod that continuously monitors the current state of your underlying custom resources. So this custom resources actually is something that you have to deploy from the CRD definition. And it also make operator pattern also make changes to reach your desired state. And so side by side with operator pattern, you have CRD. So CRD allows you to deploy custom resources to be utilized by the operator. So let me go to the next slide. And this slide will help you to visualize better about what is custom resource and operator. So we as a user, we deploy two things. So first one is the controller or the operator pod itself. And the second one and the number one is the custom resource. So for this ECK case, the Elastic has provided us with the operator pod and image. So we just need to download this operator YAML file as well as the CRD files from their website, and we just need to apply it once in our cluster. And then we just need to write one YAML file, which is the custom resource file to describe our Elasticsearch cluster. So in this case, custom resource is analogous to the Elasticsearch YAML file itself. And then, so what happens here is that on the number two, the controller will keep monitoring the custom resource, which in this case, the Elastic operator continuously monitor the Elasticsearch custom resource. So by monitoring it, it can manage the native Kubernetes resources like stateful sets, config maps, services, pods, and etc. So it it can automatically translate the custom fields from the custom resource, and then it automatically creates this stateful sets, pods, config maps, secrets, and basically all the stuff that you have to set up otherwise if you are not using this operator pattern. So this is very handy as the end user, as we don't need to write so many YAML files just to get our application running. So let me move on to the actual migration itself. So this is just the outline of the steps that I did for the migration. So it took around 2 months of work. It started with research, planning, and then I needed to do some application code upgrade, which is the search service code itself. And then, as I mentioned, we just need to write one YAML file, which is the Elasticsearch um, file itself, the Elasticsearch manifest itself. So I think this is the easiest part in the migration, in the entire migration process, because the heavy lifting is all done by the operator pattern and the CRDs. And then we, we will have to index the new documents in the new Elasticsearch cluster in Kubernetes. And then we also did data discrepancy check between the old cluster and the new cluster, and finally testing as well with the real traffic. So I wouldn't go into detail about um, how you could how you run the Elasticsearch itself on Kubernetes, or how you run ECK, because that is already well documented in the Elastic website themselves, and you can just follow it, and it's very easy to run your own Elasticsearch cluster. So this diagram shows the current our current search service architecture with ECK. So you could see on the bottom, we still have the search service web and indexer process, and they would call the Elasticsearch service Kubernetes service object. So this service is exposed so that our microservices, or the search service in this case, can call. So then the request will go to each pod on our Elasticsearch cluster. So in the node A and node B, it will host its own Elasticsearch pod. And these pods are managed by the stateful sets, which again is managed by the um, Elastic operator and the CRDs. So then each Elasticsearch pod also has its own PVC, persistent volume claim, which is also automatically managed by the operator pattern. And then this PVC will claim its storage from each persistent volume as well. And this persistent volume is also managed by the operator. So you can see how everything is actually just managed and automatically uh, managed by the Elastic operator. So we as a user, we can just see it as a black box, and we do not have to worry so much about all the configurations, as long as we write our Elasticsearch manifest file properly. All right. So now this is what happens when we actually do automated rolling upgrade with ECK. So whenever you type in like kubectl apply -f your Elasticsearch.yaml file, this is actually what the log shows. So this is a real log that I tailed back then when I was still at 99.co. So you can see at the first bolded text, there's a disabling shards allocation, which is exactly what I mentioned earlier when we want to do a manual rolling upgrade. Then it will request for a sync flush, although it's getting ignored after that, but it's okay. Then it will do a deleting pod for rolling upgrade. So, and then these logs will keep being replicated for all the pods that are currently running. So you can see uh, this kind of automation is it's very useful, and especially if you have so many nodes and so you are running so many Elasticsearch nodes. If you were to do manual rolling upgrade, that would be quite tedious and again dangerous, just like my experience. So by performing this automated rolling upgrade, we can always be very safe, can always feel very safe about managing our ES cluster. All right, because automation, you know, robots are better than us. And yep, so I'd like to end my talk with my take on running Elasticsearch on EC2. So some of the pros here are, for me personally, it simplifies the Elasticsearch deployment a lot. So as you can see with the rolling upgrade example just now, it will just automatically bring down one pod and then um, turn it back up, spin it back up before spinning down another pod. So this makes our ES cluster also very highly available. And the next one, all the operational class and cluster administration tasks are automated. So it is things like creating your config maps, secrets, and whatever that is needed to run the Elasticsearch. And then third of all, because it is natively supported by Elastic, so I can trust them, and because it is no better team can actually write this operator rather than the company themselves that uh, develop or build the Elasticsearch, right? So my take is you can always trust the reliable people or the credible people that write the operator. And on the other hand, if you see that this operator is written by someone that you may never heard of before or doesn't have any credibility, then you should take more uh, precaution in that case. Um, yep, and the next one is you can easily manage multiple ES clusters. So, so in order for, let's say, spin up, you need another ES cluster in your Kubernetes cluster. You just need to write another Elasticsearch YAML file, and that's it. Just apply that, and they will just spin up the cluster for you. So the operator will manage these multiple ES clusters at once, and you can also see it, monitor it easily from your kubectl command as well because of the Elasticsearch CRD. And finally, the best part is there is no more human related fuck up at 3 a.m. as what I experienced. So back then, I didn't even need to perform the updates to the ES cluster at in the morning. I could do it any time of the day because I know it will be safe for the rolling upgrade to happen. So yeah, that's about the pros, and there are two cons that I could think of. So first of all, because this running stateful workloads like this Elasticsearch or any kind of database is new to me in Kubernetes. So there's a slight steep learning curve for me to learn about operator pattern and CRDs and how these two can uh, actually manage stateful workloads that has a lot of logic in it in order to run the system properly. So yeah, but for me, once I understood how the operator works and what can it do, it becomes very easy to appreciate it, and I think it also becomes easier to understand what other operator does. So, and then another one is of course a major initial workload. So because for me when I did the migration, we had to do all other stuffs just like performing any technology migration. So yeah, and yeah. So but overall, I think you can obviously see that the pros definitely outweigh the cons. So even though with all this major initial workload and stuff, it is better for the long run for the team as well. And yep, and it was also a very fun experience for me to explore this side of Kubernetes to run stateful applications in Kubernetes. So yeah, that's all that I have. And thanks everyone for tuning in and listening to my talk. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions on Slack